I have seen a lot of complaining about Trump tweets on the internet because they said he being manipulating the market, he being putting a lot of volatility in the market. I seen a lot of people are mad. People are very mad about Trump tweeting concerning this conflict in the Middle East. But for me, I had to admit this last week was very tough, very tough. I was able to take one trade, and it's not even a swing trade, it's a day trade. So I take a trade on the pound USD. I will show you in front of the screen. Pretty much good trade, but I let the noise pass before taking this trade. We have a huge spike on Monday, and I was only able to take this trade at the end of the week, but it was a day trade. I took it, but all I want to say for to people who are complaining about Trump tweets, maybe it's because I'm not here to judge how they are trading, how they trade, but maybe try to adjust your trading because market is not the same. As long as the time pass, market change, market is dynamic. There is a lot of new participant in the market. So market was there before Trump and will be there after Trump. After Trump will someday he will be out of the office of the White House. We need to do and change to adapt on the situation. But all I want to say is focus on the context. What is the context? It's true that there is a lot of noise now in the internet. People I've also seen people say fundamental analysis is crap, is bullshit, it doesn't work. Well, you are free to think what you want to think, but I still think fundamental is good, is a good arsenal to add to your technical analysis. But you need to avoid all of the noises and focus on I would say the context. And what is the context right now? The context is real. We have a war, a conflict in the Middle East between United States, Israel, and Iran. This is clear. And what is the consequence? The consequence is we already saw this. If we go back, we have a high prices on oil. Let me show you. Yeah, the consequence is we have high prices on oil, and high prices on oil. Companies doesn't like that. This always brings some inflation. So central banks are worried about inflation. So we are expecting to we are expecting central banks to hike rates. So if these conflicts continue, there is a high chance, high probability that the expectation of lowering rates this year will be thrown away. So the context is we have high prices on oil, which could potentially bring inflation. If we see also the S&P, the S&P is an index which is a composite of the 500 great companies in United States. So people always compare to the performance of S&P to judge to measure performance. Traders like to compare to this performance. So you can see even the S&P is dropping. So all these signs it prove that people are scared. There is a lot of volatility, and even though we can check also the VIX is also this is a volatility index is an index which measure the volatility in the whole market. So if whenever this volatility index is high, that's proof there is a lot of volatility. So one thing I like to do is to use the tools we call Gunbox to measure the all-time low to the all-time high. You see, so whenever price is below the 0.75, we have how I could call a normal volatility. But whenever price is above the 0.75, you see, right now we are going above the 0.75. So we have a high volatility in the market. We can go in the past where we have in 2020, where we have COVID. This period we have a spike to the upside. We also talk about if we go even further in the past in 2008 around the crise of subprimes, you can see we have a huge spike. So whenever price spike to the upside in the volatility index, that's proof there is a volatility. Okay, once you know that, you know the context, you go back to the DXY. The DXY is strong right now. It's also because of this fact. So compared to the gold, which is not going up right now, it seems like people are taking profit. We remember we have a great year on 2025, great expansion. Now we have seen this retracement. I think it's because people are taking profit and people need to cash out, need some liquidity. So to prepare for a possible recession, we don't know because remember we have possibility of high inflation. High inflation. Inflation could be high in the next month, on the next days, next month, we also have a slowing growth. The growth is slowing. When we see around the world, the big economy growth is slowing. So we, let me mark up this, the growth. Usually the GDP, we talk about the GDP, the gross domestic product. Seems like we are heading to a stagflation. Stagflation is an environment where inflation is high and the growth is slowing. So in this type of environment, it's very, very tough for central banks to hike rates. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing. So people are removing their long-term profit to cash out, but I have no doubt that gold will be or continue to be the safe haven. But right now it's bearish. If you go back to GXY, and people who taking cash out, taking liquidity, or from the gold or other assets, or even in stocks, we have seen the S&P is dropping. It's because people are taking their money, taking their profit, and when they are taking their profit, they convert their profit in US dollars. So that's why we can see the US dollar keep pushing to the upside. I'm very convinced that US dollar will push for the next month, at least to this zone. So yeah, so instead of complaining about Trump is tweeting that, Trump is doing that, so just focus on the context and avoid all the noises around the social media or all these things. And Trump, the reason why he is making his tweet is to calm down. He wants to calm down he doesn't want to bring panic on investors. See, so instead of that, if he doesn't tweet, maybe we could see some drop of the S&P, but it's not the case right now because all these tweets contribute to hold, to prevent S&P to drop even further. I think that's what I think Trump is doing that. But the reality is the context is here. The context of war in the Middle East is here. People are scared, so that's why I think S&P will at least continue to drop because the context is here, is real, and the fact that Trump paused the strike on Iran energy plants, so that's prolonged or extend the conflict at least to the April 6th. So that extends the conflict and is not looking good and not seen very well by the market. So that's why I think you need to focus on the context and just let the taco, the Trump always taken out side away, let it away and focus on the context. As long as this conflict is not de-escalate, I mean, I think we are in bear market. We are continue to in the bear market. That's why I'm thinking so. So let's go back to the GXY and start to prepare this new upcoming week. I drag the economic calendar. What do we have for this upcoming week? On Monday, we have the Fed Chair Powell. I think this will be one of the last Jerome Powell speech because you already know this is the last mandate. It is his last mandate, so there will be a new chairman at the head of the Federal Reserve of the United States. On Tuesday, we have some growth data on pounds to keep an eye on this. We have some inflation data, flash estimate on euro. Interesting. The growth data on Canadian dollar, some jobs data on USD dollar. On Wednesday, we have some another growth data on euro with the PMI, another jobs data on US dollar, the ADP number, NFP, before the real NFP on Friday, I think. Yes, we have the NFP on Friday. So there will be some bank holiday also on some couples of economy. I think on Friday I will maybe reduce my risks if I find some opportunity at the beginning of the week. Reduce my risks on Friday and maybe observe what the NFP will print as data. Okay. Okay, let's analyze the DXY, the most important chart, as you always know if you follow this channel. So knowing the context, I'm still bullish on the DXY based on what I have said in the beginning of this video. On monthly time frame, the monthly we have 2 days left before the monthly candle close. So yeah, expect some sort of for the next week, some sort of continuation for the next month. At least target these highs. Okay, let's go down to the weekly. On weekly time frame, I'm bullish from this low to this high. If we zoom in, it pretty much taps this level. You see, we retest. We didn't retrace lower in this imbalance zone, but it's okay. The trend is up. We tap here and we reverse. So pretty good sign on continuing. higher on weekly time frame. Let's go down to the daily time frame. So in daily time frame, what do we have? We are still bullish from this low to this high. We perfectly retrace in this imbalance, overlapping with this support zone. So same thing, expecting to the continuation to the upside. We have some imbalance here where we could potentially see a retracement before continue higher, but let's pay attention to this level at least. Let's go down to the 4 hour. So you see the 4 hour, we see price is distributing around this channel. You can see perfectly. So we tap finally in this demand zone. So this is the demand which hold price, hold this week, and send the price to the upside. So as I said, we are still bullish from this low to this high. We can see we are going to target this high next week at least, I think. So this will be my target on buy sides. And if you see some weakness at the beginning of the week, the GXY decide to retrace, maybe expect some retracement around this level, this support, or around this imbalance zone. If GXY decide to even retrace further lower, we have this demand zone where we could potentially take the trade to the upside. You already know we are still bullish to the upside. We want to target at least the top of this channel, you know. So that's pretty much what I am looking for on the TXY. Let's go down to the 1 hour. 1 hour, same thing. We are bullish clearly. All right, let's go to the Euro USD, the next pair. Still the same. We are overbought on Euro USD. We are in the top of this channel, so expecting a continuation to the downside, at least towards this 50% mark of the channel. You can see in the blue dot line here. So yeah, the context is the same with the strength of the US dollar. So expect some continuation for the next month. Okay, to the downside. Let's go down to the weekly time frame. So on weekly time frame, we can see we broke structure. We are pretty much bearish from this high to this low, clearly. So for the next week, my targets for the last week, I was expecting some retracement around this imbalance zone. We see price didn't target this imbalance. Instead, we target this point of control from the last year, which I said is a powerful zone. So that's pretty much the POC of from the last year, which reject the price here. So I'm expecting a continuation to the downside. So on sell side, targeting this low, maybe potentially, I don't think we could target this at the end of the next week, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. The direction is bearish in any case. Let's go down to the daily to see it clearly. So on daily, we are bearish clearly from this high to this low. So we couldn't retrace around this imbalance, but it's okay because this point of control is acting as a nice and a big resistance. Okay, so let's go down to the 4 hour. On 4 hour time frame, we are bearish, still bearish. You see, we are bearish from this high to this low. So all this is just a retracement towards, I would say, this supply zone where we could potentially see a reversal, so to the downside, clearly. So my plan in 4 hour time frame is at least to break this low. I want to see some close below this low to finally continue the trend to the downside. So that's what I'm seeing. So we could potentially, as you know, with this crazy volatility in the market, we could see some, I don't know, some speech in the weekend on Trump, which could bring some movement, some panic on USD. But as I said, focus on the context. The context is US dollar is strong. You know the direction. We are bearish overall. So any strong movement to the upside will do not make you panic. So yeah, so even though we see some retracement, I will find some maybe around some zone to find a retracement to continue the trend to the downside. So we also have some sort of trend line here where we could combine with this low. We break this trend line and this support. We close below, so expecting a retracement. Any supply right there could be an opportunity to continue the trend to the downside. So I'm bearish on EURUSD. The next pair is the pound. So on GBPUSD, so on monthly we are bearish. You see from this high to this low, we can see this supply zone react perfectly. We have make some sort of double top. We are rejecting this supply. Seems like long term we're going to target this low. Okay, let's go down to the weekly time frame. On weekly, we see we finally break this trend line. We have reject many time, one, two, third time. Reject also the point of control from the last year. We also play perfectly as a big resistance. So yeah, that's proof there is a lot of seller. Look at the weeks of the last week. We closed bearish. So for me, there is no doubt that we are going to continue to target this demand zone right there and potentially the final low right there. So I'm still bearish on the pound USD on weekly time frame. Let's go down to the daily. On daily time frame is the same. We are bearish from this high to this low. You see, we couldn't even retrace further in some imbalance right there. Why? Because we still have this point of control, and we also have, I think, the yearly open. Here is the yearly open, which also act as a powerful zone. You see, we reject twice this level. So there's a lot of confluence or confirmation that make me think that we are going to continue to the downside. We have seen this demand zone, I think, will not hold any longer. We also react twice on this demand, so I think we are going to target this low and eventually this low. Okay, so let's go down to the 4 hour. On 4 hour, same. We are bearish. You see the structure, the order flow. We are bearish from this high to this low. So all this was just a retracement. So I've seen people panic as around, you see, the last week, at the beginning of the last week, we have seen a huge movement to the upside. This candle make people panic and things like this price will continue to the upside. So but for me, I let the noise at the beginning of the week and find my setup maybe at the end of the week around here to continue the trend to the downside. So that's why you need to focus on the context clearly to eliminate the noise around and focus on the context. I will always say that. So you can see here the supply zone hold perfectly. So we are waiting to drop again. And if I zoom out, let me zoom out. You see this channel? This channel will continue to the downside, I think, and we have the bottom of the channel, which could potentially be the target. Um, all this was just a fake out, you see, all this. So we have some sort of break of the channel and reintegration of the channel. So that's pretty much what I see. So I'm still bearish. So expecting the next week a continuation to the downside, but pay attention with some rebounds or retest around this zone before continuing lower. So yeah, I'm bearish on the pound, clearly. The next pair is AUD/USD. So on AUD/USD, we are bearish from on monthly time frame from this high to this low. So we have some sort of break of this descending channel. We break this channel, we target these highs, as I said in my last market outlook, to wait the rejection of this high to see finally a retracement to the downside. So it seems like is playing very well. You see, we are starting to see a huge rejection to the downside. So I'm expecting for the next month maybe a target to this demand zone right there. Okay, let's go down to the weekly to see it clearly. We have a huge imbalance right there that need to be filled towards this support clearly, and we still bullish on weekly time frame from this low to this high. So maybe a retracement. Let me take my Fibonacci tools to measure the last weekly order flow. You can see the 50% is around there. So yeah, the conflict is still here, and we have the USD dollar still strong. So maybe expecting a price to go down around this discount zone, maybe around the point of control from the last year. There is a possibility, but will not be so ambitious. So maybe things will change. We could see a de-escalation in the conflict, and the OZ, which is fundamentally strong, could potentially continue the 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 trend on weekly time frame. Maybe after rebouncing around this support, I don't know. We will see. But right now, it's clear that the direction is towards the downside. Okay. So on daily time frame, what do we have? We still bullish from this low to this high. This is the daily order flow. It seems like we are retracing the the daily order flow. So I have this sort of demand zone where we have seen in the past a huge impulsion to the upside that prove that there is a lot of demand right there. So I mark up this zone, which could potentially be the next target clearly on daily time frame. So let me zoom in. We have some imbalance right here. If we see some retracement maybe at the beginning of the week on the buy side, some retrace around there before continuation to the downside. So keep an eye on this imbalance zone. So on forward time frame, we are bearish clearly from this high to this low. I don't know if we are already from the low, but we can see we keep going down. So maybe the low will be from here to finally make the low of the forward order flow, but we will see. It's clear that we are bearish. So for the next week, maybe expecting some retracement and continuation, or even further in premium price to find some opportunity right there to continue the downside. So pay attention to this scenario. It's clear that the current momentum is down toward this zone. Okay. So the next one is Kiwi dollar. So on Kiwi dollar, we still have this demand which is holding price many times clearly. So if we zoom in, we see the current monthly is dropping harder. That's I will not be surprised if the selling pressure continue to the next month, maybe to target this low. So with the strength of the US dollar, so that's what I'm thinking right now on monthly time frame. Let's go down to the weekly. So on weekly, I think we are bearish from this high to this low. Clearly, this is the order flow weekly. So we already retest one time to this supply zone rejection. We came again and we couldn't pass or broke above it. So we kind of reject again this level. So it's clear that we are heading to the downside again. I don't know if we will target this, but on short-term targets or short and average target will be at least this demand zone right there. So that's what I am seeing right now on weekly. Let's go down to the daily. On daily time frame, we're still bullish. We have a order flow bullish, but I think the daily order flow is about to shift bearish. We just need to see some closure above this low to finally have a bearish order flow from this high to this low. Okay, so in any case, the dollar is strong. We still have the conflicts going on with this pause on by 10 days made by Donald Trump. The conflict is stretched, so it doesn't look good for a risk on environment. So I think like we still in a risk of environment. So that means currency like NZD or AUD, which are risk on currency, will lose some strength. So all that's make me think that we're gonna continue the downtrend. Simply as that. So we have some imbalance here to pay attention if price decide to retrace a little bit before continue lower. But we also have some yearly open. Don't forget here, which could also act with the point of control from the last year. Yes, we have the point of control, the yearly open. We also have this daily demand zone, which I really want to see a closure below because this is an obstacle we need to break before continue lower. Okay. So if I have to focus, I will not focus on NZD because right now we are facing a resistance, a support, excuse me, compared to, for example, AUD, where we still have some room to the downside, you see. So that's why we'll more focus on pair like AUD and not focus on NZD. Wait, for example, NZD break this zone before continue shorting this pair. So overall, it seems like we are going to head lower clearly on NZD. On 4 time frame, same thing, we are bearish. You can clearly see the order flow is bearish from this high to this low. So waiting some, as I said, some break of this level to continue lower again. Or maybe we could potentially see a reversal around this zone somewhere here before attacking the sell side again. So yeah, keep an eye on this. But as I said, right now I will focus more in a pair like AUD than NZD. So the next pair is USDJPY. So USDJPY is bullish long term. You can clearly see on monthly time frame. Clearly, we are going to target. Seems like we are going to target this high. We are not far away. You can see on weekly time frame. What do we see? So on weekly time frame, the trend is up. Clearly, we're going to target this. We have some sort of, if let me zoom in, some sort of supports here. Support to pay attention if we could, yeah, on sell side we could rebound off of those supports. So pay attention if you want to find some opportunities on lower time frame. On daily we are bullish. Clearly we can see the structure is bullish from this low to this high clearly. So same thing, we want to target this high first. Let's go down. Let's go down to the 4 hour. So on 4 hour, we are bullish from this low to this high clearly. So yeah, this is very, very bullish. This is very, very nothing much to say. So yeah, again, I'm not very hype on Japanese yen pair. As I said, I still have the Japanese yen basket, which is at a all-time low. So we could see at any moment an intervention of the Bank of Japan, which could reverse the or give some strength on the yen pair. So yeah, but right now it's clear that USDJPY is stronger than the yen. So I think we are gonna keep going up. So on forward time frame, maybe expect some retracement with some retracement, maybe here or even here before continue higher. Okay. Next pair is USDCAD. So USDCAD, as I said, on long time frame, on the bigger time frame, in this instance, 12-month time frame, I'm long-term bearish on USDCAD, but this could change at any moment, and it seems like we don't know. This is I'm talking about long term. So I want to see long term, maybe at the end of the year, targeting the low because we are in premium zone. So in premium zone, we expect some bearishness on or some selling on this instrument, but the reality and the context, that's why I'm talking about the context. The context make me think or make me change my bias a little bit because the USD dollar is strong. Here we are in monthly time frame from this low to this high. We are bullish, clearly. So if I take my Fibonacci tools from this low to this high, we can see the 50% mark or the discount zone will be here. We start here, overlapping with this low. So for me, I was expecting some continuation to target this, but for this to be achieved, we need to see some strong data on Canadian dollar, which is not the case right now. So yeah, trading is that we need to adapt on what the context is doing right now and trade relative to this context. Okay, so you see the monthly candle is very bullish right now, so this will not shock me if we start the new month, the next month, targeting this high. Okay, we will see based on the trend of the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. Let's go down to the weekly time frame. So on weekly time frame, you see I have this trend to the downside, so weekly trend from this high to this low, but it seems like the weekly order flow is retracing harder than I thought. So I will not exclude that, and it seems like we are going to target this supply zone right there. So yeah, clearly we can also see the trend is supported by this demand zone, which is holding price twice. So I think the next week we will continue targeting at least this high and potentially reach this supply zone on weekly time frame. On daily we still have the daily order flow bearish, but because the monthly order flow is in control, we start to see some strength, and I think this daily will not hold. We are going to break it soon, clearly. So yeah, let's go down to the 4 hour. So on 4 hour time frame, we range a bit towards this zone. We finally break the range, and I think yeah, we are clearly bullish, clearly. So I have some demand right there, expecting some retracement, but I don't know based on the strength of the US dollar. So not be surprised if we retrace somewhere on this point of control from the last year and continue the movement toward this weekly supply zone. So yeah, bullish on USDCAD. So nothing much to say. The next one is USDCHF. So on USDCHF, we're starting to see some bullishness on USDCHF on monthly time frame. So if we close bullish like that with the strength of the US dollar, I would not be surprised if you continue the next month bullish, maybe targeting these highs around here. But if I, for example, took my Fibonacci from this high to this low to measure the last monthly order flow, we can see the 50% is overlapping perfectly with this resistance. We also have this imbalance right there, but this is currently too op optimistic, and we will see. So remember, the CHF, the franc Swiss, is also sometime acting as a safe haven. So we could see some spike to the downside to this pair. So, but right now the context is US dollar is strong. So let's see how long this continue. So let's go down to the weekly. On weekly time frame, we are bearish from this high to this low. Clearly, you will see we are in this weekly supply zone. So let's see how the weekly react. But based of the strength of this candle, yeah, it wouldn't be strange if we continue the movement next week to target the top of the supply zone. Okay, so yeah, let's go down to the daily. On daily time frame, we can see we are bearish from this high to this low. It seems like we are retracing very hard to the upside. We react also to this order block. You see, we have some reaction, but this reaction couldn't continue lower. So that's why I think we will continue the movement, at least target this level. If I zoom in, I also have this imbalance zone overlapping with the yearly open, this blue line, where we could potentially see a retracement before continue higher, or even though we also have this daily support, which could act as support before continue higher again. So the momentum is still bullish on USDCHF, so no sign of bearishness. So yeah, let's go down to the 4 hour. The 4 hour, same thing. We are bullish from this low to this high. So momentum is up clearly. So as I said, maybe waiting some retracement before continue the momentum. So we close pretty much with a doji on weekly. So maybe expect some retracement before continue the movement lower. So let's see it clearly on daily time frame. On daily time frame, we have this imbalance right there. We have the daily order flow, which have switched bearish because we close below. I think we close below, pretty much close below this low. It's clear we are rejecting this low with this week. We're rejecting again this weekly demand zone. So I will not be surprised if we start to retrace a little bit to the upside. So yeah, so the daily order flow is bearish from this high to this low clearly. So if we take our Fibonacci tools, we can see the 50% is right there. So maybe expect some retracement around this 50% at least. Let's go down to the 4 hour. That's where I mark up this zone, which is sitting just above the 50%. So expecting some retracement around there before a continuation to the downside. So we can also see we have some demand right there overlapping with the yearly open. You can see. So this could potentially push the price to the upside, but to be able to buy this, I need a break of this high, some sort of closure above, retest, and continue to the zone, some sort of thing like that. It seems like we are ranging between this low and this high. You can clearly see it on 1 hour time frame. Yeah, you see, we are ranging between this level. Okay. So another scenario is if the trends wants to continue to the downside, I'm going to wait the break of this low, some sort of closure below before continue lower clearly. So that's the type of scenario I will wait for. So yeah, as long as the gold is between this level, seems like we are ranging, so I will not touch it. So just need a break of this level to finally set a direction on the gold for me. Pretty much the same thing on silver. So on silver, we are bullish long term on monthly time frame from this low to this high. Clearly, we have already seen a retracement on monthly time frame. You see the monthly candle. If we pretty much close bearish like that, I will not exclude that we continue to the downtrend at least towards this support zone. Okay, let's go down to the weekly time frame. We still bullish from this low to this high clearly. So right now we are retracing. So I can see we have reject this low. We didn't close below, we reject this low. So same thing as gold, expecting some retracement maybe around this imbalance zone. You can see here overlapping with this zone. So maybe something like that before a continuation to the downside. Let's go down to the daily time frame. Daily, yeah, we have some sort of daily order flow like that. So we are bearish from this high to this low. So remember, we still have this weekly demand right there. So where we could potentially target. So we have this yearly open, which could hold the price and reject. So pay attention to this level too. So yeah, I just want to, based on the rejection of this, I just want to see some retracement around here. I don't know, maybe here or even here to find finally a continuation to the downside, because the context is still the same, expecting a peak inflation. The projection of lowering rates from the central banks is not in the table anymore, at least currently. So this favor the continuation or the downtrend in 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 commodities like gold and silver for me. Okay. For our time frame, we can see we have this channel which is holding price to the downside clearly. We are bearish on 4 hour from this high to this low. So maybe expecting some retracement of the last 4 hour order flow bearish. You see the 50% is right there. So we miss tapping this 50%. So maybe seeing, you see how this demand zone is holding right now. So will not be surprised if we see some retracement maybe around this, or even in this supply zone, which is sitting above the 50% in premium zone, to finally see a signal to continue the downtrend around this level. So I'm still bearish also on silver. That's pretty much what I am seeing right now. And for the continuation, if we see, for example, a break of this low, that means a closure below this low, we could potentially see a continuation to the downside and wait some sort of signal around there to target the low. Okay. The next one is US oil. So US oil, I'm not talking anymore. I already said I'm not touching this as long as the conflict is keep going. So we just use it as to know more or know what is the context. So we are still in around the $100 of a barrel of oil. So this is not a good zone for the worldwide economy. So this could potentially bring inflation. So that's what I am seeing right now. So I'm not trading it. We have a lot of spike, you see. Seems like last week we closed pretty much with a long wick to the downside, and we closed pretty much with a doji. But it seems like, yeah, with this pause of Trump, it seems like the conflict is still there. So yeah, this thing could continue to go up. So I'm not trading it right now. So let's see. But the commodities I am right now is the natural gas. I still expect a continuation or a rise of the natural gas due to the conflict. I said I am holding this instrument because of the winter season, but it seems like the winter season will be over soon. I mean, in a couple of days. But we still have the conflict and the some concern on inflation, which could potentially bring some rise of natural gold or natural gas, excuse me. So yeah, I closed some trade. I took a drawdown. I took a loss. For people who follow this channel, you know that I have took first trade around here on the end of January. So I closed it in a big loss, to be honest. So I left this trade right there at a better price around this demand zone. So as long as we are not closing above or below this demand zone, I will still hold this trade to the upside. Okay. On 4 time frame, last week I talked about this inverted shoulder. We start to rise again. We retest the neckline, but we continue to drop even lower. But that's why on this type of instrument, I doesn't want to put my stop just below this level. I decide to put it below the demand zone, the real demand zones. If I left my stop right there below this head of the head and shoulder, I will be stopped out by this movement, you see. So that's why I let my stop right there. So that's it for my analysis and forecast for the upcoming week. Please give me a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. This will help me know that you really appreciate my content. Thank you for watching. Have a nice trading week and be very careful. There's a lot of volatility in the market, okay? It was Roswi, the part-time trader. I'm out.